Hey, True Believers, England team here, and I just got done watching James Gunn's Suicide Squad, and let me tell you something. This is what we wanted. This is the Suicide Squad we wanted from the very beginning, and yes, I do believe I want to see the Ayer cut as well as the first of the first one. After we saw Guardians of the Galaxy, I remember in the first film we were expecting Suicide Squad to be kind of DC Comics Guardians of the Galaxy. This time they gave it to James Gunn to direct, and basically he made that movie, but with the Suicide Squad. This is everything you want out of a Suicide Squad film. Now, is it perfect? No. Is it fun? Yes, it absolutely is. It is bloody as hell. It is what would happen if you let villains out to do whatever it is they do. And that's one thing I've got to say is in its favor. Gory movie. I loved it. Everything that you thought was going to happen is going to happen. We saw like all the characters like Javelin over here, and what's his name from Saturday Night Live. He was on it. Everything you thought was going to happen. Like obviously this first group that we're being introduced to is the B team. And I'm going to try to be as spoiler free as possible until I can't be spoiler free. And I'll give you a warning to it as well. Hey, Rhaegar, how you doing? I made a bet with a friend that if King Shark survives the movie, I would buy him a 6-pack of his choice. I will get to that a little bit later. You're asking a little bit too soon. I want to make sure that people jumping on are getting a review without spoilers. Obviously, there are some story elements revealed in the preview that I could talk about. Obviously, you know, Starro the Conqueror is the big villain, which I was thinking, okay, why isn't this a Justice League villain? Why isn't this going on? Because Starro is a little bit bigger than Harley Quinn. They handled that okay. I got really attached. They actually say in the poster, don't get attached, but I got attached to quite a few characters here. I thought they would be really, I really just had fun with them. And that's not a good idea. It says on the poster, don't get attached. So I'm telling you right here, they're right. That was not false advertisement. Let's see. So what can I say? A lot of the stuff that you thought was going to happen did happen. We saw in the earlier previews the storming on the beach, the explosions, the whole 9 yards. That was the opening gambit. We do find out that there are two teams. The one team that we're introduced to with Rick Flag, who's got Javelin and TDK, and the what is their name? Mongal and Captain Boomerang. So they were Team A, and then of course Bloodsport is leading Team B. They attacked the island, and it was just a blast. It was just a blast from right from the beginning. Michael Rooker, in all honesty, he's right behind me here. There you go. Michael Rooker, they focus on him right from the beginning, and I was quite happy with that. I like him as an actor. I think he's very entertaining as a voice and an actor and such like that. Hello to Joe Rogers. How you doing? Once again, I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler free up to a certain point, and then I'm just going to unload because I can already feel myself wanting to talk about this. I do have HBO Max, so I watched it as soon as it freaking came out. MK, cool. So would you say this is the best comic book movie of the year so far? I thought about this, and I want to watch it one more time, because if I said that, yes, it's because I'm excited right now. I literally just stopped watching the movie, and I'm afraid it might suffer from recency bias to my review. And I don't want to review a movie based on that. Is it the best movie? No. Is it a good movie? Yes. 10 times yes. Dalton, this is the non-spoiler part of the review. Okay, I'm just going to warn you before you say word one.
Okay.
I know you saw the movie because I saw your tweet, and yes. Just a quick summary of your now I know quick and summary are not two words you're very familiar with. Yes, quick of your feelings about
this is true. However, this movie is bonkers in exactly the way I needed so much right now.
Yes.
And for all those that say, you know, when I get uppity about where's all the weird stuff in all these comic book movies, especially lately, watch this movie, and then you can miss me with all of those you are expecting too much weirdness complaints. Thank you, because they made Polka Dot Man work. God dang it!
Yeah, sorry. Once again, we're not spoiling anything, but I don't think it's a spoiler to say that they made Polka Dot Man a very, very interesting character.
Yeah,
and he was one of the ones I said at the beginning. I really grown attached to these characters, and he was one of them that I wanted to see all the way to the end of the movie. And you get to see him to an ending point of the movie. So,
well, yeah, he makes it to the third act, let's say,
but he will not make it to the third movie, ladies and gentlemen. That's spoiler number one. Okay,
yeah,
so
that's
but the thing is holy. I guess I said don't spoil anything. I'm the first one to give a spoiler. Okay. That's me though. I make rules on my channel and then break them immediately.
Yes, and then he leaves the rest of us worrying haphazardly. Am I breaking the rules? And he goes in and breaks the rules.
Actually, let me go back to MK, who said what I think this is the best comic book. See, to me, the best comic book movie of the year is the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. These two movies are so freaking different in tone. It would be like saying, do you think When Harry Met Sally is a better movie than Silence of the Lambs? I think those are two top-notch movies in their respected genres. But I might actually say Silence of the Lambs is the better movie, but I watch Harry Met Sally.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you put an absolute gun to my head, I would say no, because but then again, Silence of the Lambs was my first R-rated movie ever, so maybe I'm biased.
Yeah, but the thing is sometimes like, would I say Suicide Squad movie is better than the Zack Snyder cut? I don't know, but I could guarantee gosh darn to you, even without a 4-hour runtime, I would watch Suicide Squad more often because it is the more fun of the two.
Yeah, again, it takes what you want from the weirder side of these comic book franchises or these comic book universes, and does what James Gunn always appears to want to do, and that's turn them up to an 11. Again, they made Polka Dot Man work, for crying out loud. And they've made him work so much that I'm genuinely thinking Marvel should be taking notes for how to handle Doctor Strange in his upcoming movie, in terms of his powers and stuff.
I'm thinking part of it is that he seems to understand something that DC Comics and Warner Brothers has not really appreciated is you're dealing with comic book characters. So be comic book characters.
Let them be exactly what they are and nothing more. Yeah.
They always try to
fix
say,
what
well, we're bringing them into the real world. We don't want the real world. We want the comic book world.
Yeah, we want an accurate translation of what's in the books, please, because it's the books that we fell in love with and the characters we fell in love with. Can you please do an accurate translation of them, please?
To a certain extent, the MCU has done that. And that, I think, is one of the things that has made the MCU so far better than the DCU for the most part. I'm not saying movie to movie everyone is better than, but
in general, they appear to be less afraid of their own source material, and that benefits them. In fact, when the MCU has been at its weakest, especially lately, is when they get almost there and they pull back. That's always been my recent complaint.
Yeah, and
this movie doesn't do that. This movie goes full hog and
it does, and that is one of the best things about this. One of my favorite parts, and God bless him, he should be Green Lantern. He should be Green Lantern. I know he should be Green Lantern, but TDK behind me, Nathan Fillion, the scene with him on the beach, I freaking lost my shit. I was laughing throughout this movie. This is a very dark humored movie. This is a James Gunn film. There's with TDK here, they're like, why do you call it? What's your name? TDK. What's that stand for? Stands for me. and they wouldn't say, but then they actually say who he actually is, and they show his power, and it's one of the most ridiculous things, and everybody's like, what the freaking what is this? That it's one of the best reactions. And that happens all throughout.
And on
Oh,
the topic of this being a James Gunn movie, if there was ever any doubt that Disney put him on a leash for the Guardians movies, and if you've ever watched one of the Guardians movies and thought to yourself, where's the guy who made Slither, or where's the guy who made the Trauma movies in this? Well, the Trauma-isms are back.
As a matter of fact, speaking of trauma, oh gosh, I forget his name. Lloyd Kaufman actually makes a cameo in this movie. It's a very blink and you miss it, but I was like, that was Lloyd Kaufman.
Yep.
Yeah, he actually is in this film. And in about 4 minutes, we're going to start getting spoilerly. So, but the thing is, yeah, there are a lot of cameos. As a matter of fact, I noticed, of course, Lord Kaufman, which he could be called Lord Cameo these days. Mantis, the actress who plays Mantis, is in it.
Clementia.
Yeah, she's in a strip bar at one point, and James Brolin is in this movie as well. They all do cameos. So that's to add on to, of course, we all know Sylvester Stallone voices King Shark. He's from the Guardians of the Galaxy. And Michael Rooker plays what's his name? Salvatore or something like that. I forget his name there. But so you do get a whole bunch of cameos like that throughout the movie, and that was kind of cool. Let's see, Silence of the Lambs all day. I noticed that we have a very small audience for this particular live stream, and I can only imagine that people are afraid that I'm going to spoil the freaking movie for them. But then again, also, I do know Venkman and his crew are over talking about Suicide Squad, the comic. So hopefully they have a good time doing that. It's like watching Shazam. To me, Shazam and Aquaman, Wonder Woman, the first movie, they were revelations of what DC comic movies can be. And every time I watch one of those, I get hope. I don't want hope because I hate, it's like, I love this movie. I had a great time. Gail was by me. Oh, what you laughing at now? You know, that kind of stuff. Cause she hates that I feel joy. But I find this to happen every damn time. I find this to happen every damn time with DC Comics movies.
Just when I think about, they pull me back in.
Yeah, you see Shazam and you're like, woo! And next up is Wonder Woman 84. Remember how good the first Wonder Woman was? Yeah.
Crash.
This time they went backwards. They went from Suicide Squad to Suicide Squad. Now, I got to admit, when I first saw the original Suicide Squad movie, I had fun with it, and I still do. I have fun with it, but this movie, I think, is going to make me have a hard time with it from now on.
It raised the bar, yeah.
Yeah.
Because this movie is honestly what I think the studio wanted for the first one, and that's why they pumped up the soundtrack of the first one, and they put all those Guardians of the Galaxy-isms in the trailer and so forth. But this movie is everything that you wanted from the first one and then some.
Yeah. Yes. Michael Rooker plays Mary Poppins in Guardians. Exactly. Mary Poppins, y'all. Let's see. Okay, going around the Polka Dot Man, I never thought I could like Polka Dot Man as much as I did in this movie. They really made him a three-dimensional character. They took time to let you know who these people were. The first movie was like, let's do a little music video and put up little cards that say this guy, this power, this guy, go. This one, James Gunn understands movies are a visual medium. Show don't tell.
God darn it.
And we actually see origin stories for everyone, except for Peacemaker. He's not given an origin story because, in all honesty, he tells you what he's all about. You don't.
Yeah, and he's getting his own show, so we won't be missing. We won't be wanting for any.
Yeah, you don't need to know his backstory to know what makes him tick, because he tells you what makes him tick all the way throughout the movie. And I think that's good enough.
Yeah, this is what I am, and this is what I'm about, is basically his entire mantra, every piece of dialogue.
Yeah. Alrighty. So we're 15 minutes in. You guys understand this is a highly recommended film from us. Let's see. Killer Croc was nerfed in the first movie. Croc's supposed to be terrifying, hulking serial killer. Movie Croc was puny and I agree with you on that. I would have liked to have seen King Shark. What King Shark is, I would have liked to have seen that. And basically, if you think about it, King Shark is Croc. Bloodsport is Deadshot. You know, they did just bring a couple of characters in. So yeah, I don't think I've ever seen Polka Dot Man in the comics. Even no, I know he's a Batman villain. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen him either. Tell you the truth, I don't think they've ever revived him.
And after this movie, bearing in mind that it is the Suicide Squad, and you know what happens to the Suicide Squad, I want Crazy Quilt in the next one. Can I have Crazy Quilt, please?
Nice? Well, I think now, if I'm not mistaken, Polka Dot Man would throw the polka dots, and depending on the color, different things would happen. This one, it straight out dissolves. Like it's his polka dots are an interdimensional energy that dissolves whatever they hit. So we do find that out. And we also find out that his, by the way, at this point in time, we will be talking spoilers, so be warned. We find out that the Polka Dot Man was created by his mother. And she wanted to make superheroes out of him and his siblings. And some of them died. And he now he's inflicted. This isn't a fun thing. He's inflicted with this energy that if he doesn't purge it, will destroy him.
Yeah, there's a body horror aspect to it. And it's really
that's why in the trailer, you know, when hand, and you see Bloodsport go, "We're all gonna die," and he looks at him and goes, "I hope so," because this is the life he leads.
He's not kidding. Yeah. He genuinely has a little bit of a death wish because his life is pain, basically.
One of my favorite scenes as far as Polka Dot Man is concerned, he's quiet throughout most of the film. He has lines, but there's a scene where they have to attack a village, and Peacemaker and Bloodsport are arguing about how to go about it. And Ratcatcher goes, "And I thought you were the crazy one." And Polka Dot Man just looks at her and goes, "I am." And we find out that the way he hates killing, but what he does is he pictures everybody being his mom, and then it's easy. And he actually voices that. What happened? I changed him in my head to my mom, and I murdered them. So it's like, okay, this guy's screwed up. Yeah, but he's a very entertaining character in here. Let's see. So they do go on their mission. We find out that, in all honesty, it was Amanda Waller who decided to sacrifice Rick Flag and his team, which was the TDK, which is what was it? The Detachment Kid. And
arm fall off boy, basically. Yeah,
they were a distraction for Bloodsport's team. They need to go in. Of course, we know what they're after. They're after Team Starro. I'm not going to go into all spoilers, so keep what's going on the DL. Why they need to get to the Starro lab, but we do find out that, and I think there should be some sort of consequence. I really do. Thoughts on Sylvester Stallone as King Shark? Funny. One thing that Sylvester Stallone does not get credit for is he has good comedic timing. And that is proven in this movie. He really does nail the comedy element of King Shark. Speaking of strange villains, I want to see Stiltman in Marvel. I agree. # it is time. I've seen Crazy Quilt in the comics. Me too. I have done that. But
Calendar Man 2 would be a nice addition. Calendar Man in the sequel, but the one that can actually bring up or bring to life like holiday icons and make them his henchmen, that would be interesting.
That would be fun. Yeah, that would be definitely more visual than the guy with the dates around his head and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I think I scared people away with the word spoiler heavy on the review. Let's see. So going through the actors, going through well, here's the thing. If we start talking about people, you're going to realize one of the worst things to happen in this movie. And you can fight me on it, but you will never convince me. But I think it was crap. They took him out. They finally showed Captain Boomerang being Captain Boomerang.
And then yoink.
Yeah, because he gets on that beach in the beginning that you see in the previews of, and he throws his boomerang, and we see him slice off people's heads and everything, and it's awesome. And I'm like, oh yes, boom. Oh, okay, so that's gonna happen.
He unfortunately will not be coming back like a boomerang.
Yeah, I hated that, and that's the thing. I get attached to the characters. I don't want them to die.
I had the same thing with Polka Dot Man. I was like, can I just have all the things with him, please? Yeah,
because he's like 5 minutes away from the ending, right? Arm Fall Off Boy was a surprise to see in Suicide Squad. How can he be on the team since he's from the future of Legion of Superheroes? They call him the Detachment Kid and let him go. But by the way, I didn't see Arm Fall Off Boy. I saw my man. I saw this guy right here. That's what I saw when I saw him. I was like, oh no, he's not Arm Fall Off Boy. He's the Captain Marvel from the MF magazine. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Harley Quinn. I actually thought when she said, "Oh, I don't want to play Harley Quinn for a while," I was thinking, "Holy shit, did they kill Harley Quinn?" Which would be just like putting a nail into a freaking money coffin.
That would have earned them extra ballsiness points if they had done that. But
they would be burning a wallet full of money if they got rid of Harley Quinn though. So I was like, yeah, no way they would have the balls to do that. By the way, Rhaegar, you owe your friend a case of beer though. I will say that, or a 6-pack. It's what can we say? What can we say? I don't want to spoil everything. I really don't. Let's see. Sylvester Stallone is an underrated actor. He made so many good movies and good bad. Copland is the one I point to. Copland was the one he should have at least been nominated for an Oscar on. I think that's an amazing film. He is incredibly funny here. It's thoroughly entertaining. We have now lost our entire audience except for me, according to StreamYard. So there you go.
Yeah, I hope that James Gunn gets quite a bit of clout back from this movie, because I want him to have the upper hand when he goes negotiating with Marvel for Guardians 3. Because while it wouldn't make sense for some of the trauma-isms to make it into Guardians 3, I would like to see a weirder, more unhinged James Gunn going forward into Guardians 3. That would make me happy.
An expensive CGI character survives to the end. He does. I think audiences would have turned. There are so many people who do die in this movie that I think certain ones though, like that if they did kill, I think the audience would turn on them, and I think King Shark's one of them. They did actually have me turn a little bit, because I was like, okay, that I do not like. We're going to get into the big death in. I don't want it to just be. I don't want it to be just be dropped. That's going to come up later. We're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
Let's see. I liked the Thinker in it. I thought he was an interesting character.
Peter Capaldi continues to be awesome, unsurprising to anyone.
There you go. Yes. Let's see. Overall, there's a bit with a, oh, goodness gracious, what to talk about here? Excuse me.
You want to talk about Starro since he's in the trailers
Just a
and
little
everyone
bit.
knows
Just
Okay.
a little bit. The bits with Harley Quinn are awesome. I loved the fact that Birds of Prey kind of downplayed the fact that she's supposed to be insane. Even in the first Suicide Squad, they didn't really embrace the fact
they undermined it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, but she should. But this new incarnation of Harley Quinn that we're seeing in the comics is also supposed to be smart. Like in the original with Mad Love, if you've ever read that, it's an incredible book. I highly recommend it. She she got her psychology degree by screwing around. She screwed all her professors. So she was never exactly a boss.
The top in her class or anything.
Yeah. But they changed that for the New 52. So this,
which honestly I didn't mind. That made sense to me that because she was a doctor before.
Yeah. So this one is supposed to be smart, and there are certain things I did notice about the character that I liked. Her, she had a tattoo that said "Property of the Joker." Now she has one that says "Property of No One." So it's kind of attaches itself to the Birds of Prey that she broke up with the Joker and everything. And there's the Cortez, this country that they're in. The leader is interested in her and even proposes because he thinks she's beautiful, and two, he thinks that she stands for everything she stands for is against America. And that freaking made me laugh because he's talking about how great they would be together, and then right in the chest. And she's like, yeah, I've decided that if I went out with a guy and I noticed a red flag, well, I'd kill him. So I was like, oh, that's Harley. That's Harley. But the best representation, I think, of her insanity was what she saw when she was killing people. You remember the scene where she's running down the hallway and she's killing people, and it shows blood at first, but then it goes to a point of view of Harley, and then it kind of swings around, so we're watching Harley. But as it goes to her point of view, we see flowers and birds, like a cartoon flying around. So after that, every time she stabs someone, it becomes cartoon birds and flowers. And
yeah, Polka Dot Man isn't the only one seeing things in this one.
Yeah. Dominic saying, I felt the Thinker could have been more like his pre-New 52 counterpart in terms of appearance. However, Capaldi looks like he's having a good time. Everybody looked like they were having a fun time. This is infectious. You can tell that the actors had a great time. Therefore, we can have a great time with them.
Yeah, James Gunn appears to be having a great time too.
Yeah. The rat catcher, I would have to say, she is the heart of the team. Like. And that's one of the characters I was talking about. If they killed her,
rat catcher too.
Yeah, if they killed her, I think the audience would turn. So that's one thing. You want her to survive. They actually build this character up. They give you a backstory. Waki Tahiti Tiba, whatever his name is, plays her dad, and we do get her backstory and why he chose rats to control of all the animals that he could have done. And yeah, I like that. They just handled every character well. Some characters are likable but unsympathetic, like Bloodsport. He has the exact opposite relationship with his daughter that we had with Deadshot. Deadshot wanted to be dad of the year, and Bloodsport's like, I didn't ask to be a dad. But he wanted to protect her. He just didn't give a care about her beyond that. So.
Right.
Taiki Waika Titi. Okay, I'll go with that.
Taika Waititi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peacemaker is once again likable but unsympathetic. I don't see Peacemaker as somebody.
He was a bastard, but he was a bastard in an entertainingly over the top way.
Yeah, I don't see him as somebody go, who I identify him. Yeah. There are certain things I didn't like about the film, and we've spoiled a little bit, but this is major plot spoilage. There are two things. One, I actually forget. It's when they're... Oh, nope. I'm thinking of something I saw in the Harley Quinn cartoon. Never mind. But they do this thing with Starro the Conqueror. Let's talk about... We could talk about Starro the Conqueror now if you want.
Okay.
We find out that there is... They call it the Starfish Project. You know about it. We know about it. We got a kaiju down... Yeah.
Yeah. Starfish Kaiju of Doom.
So the one thing I didn't like is that we find out that it is American astronauts that found Starro the Conqueror floating around and brought him to Earth, and Americans thought that they could weaponize him and have been working to find a way to do that. So this whole thing is the fault of the American government. And I was like, really? You're going to go with that old chestnut?
I saw that as them just following through on the edgy tone. I didn't mind that so much.
Well, to me, that's the political version of the blue sky beam in the air.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it really is. This is a comic book universe. You can give somebody else... You could have tied it into Shazam by saying it was Kahndaq.
Or even better yet, have it be like Proto-Cadmus trying to weaponize him. And then you could have like done a post-credit scene of Amanda Waller saying Project Starfish failed, go back to Cadmus headquarters, and then boom, we could have had a Suicide Squad versus Justice League setup, or just like a Cadmus movie or something.
Who does Alice Braga plays? She is she's a freedom fighter. Basically, that's the role she always plays. So, but yeah, she's a freedom fighter in this movie. One of the funniest freaking scenes is they find out that Flag is kidnapped, and they are given carte blanche. It's actually said to eliminate his kidnappers with prejudice. And right when they shot the woman doing laundry singing, I was like, okay, yeah, this is the direction they're going with this one. And you realize this is just a village of people who actually rescued Flag.
Remember, villains.
Because all throughout, these people are running around the corner, and you find out they're just there, one, to protect their village, and two, to find out what's happening. But all throughout this, Peacemaker and Bloodshot are one-upping each other on how to kill people.
They're doing the Legolas and Gimli routine of, I'm on 17.
So it's kind of fun because you're with them. Because at the time you think that, yeah, these are the bad guys. These are bad guys. And so they're going, ha-ha, boom, and they're just showing off killing people. And it's such a twist. It's such a turnaround. Yeah.
Yeah. Villains, guys, remember.
Yeah.
Forget not that these people are asses.
Well, once they there was a lady singing, doing laundry. I was like, oh, okay, that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing.
This entire village was 2 weeks away from retirement. Darn shame.
Yes, exactly. Goodness, freaking fun as hell. Starro. Let's talk. I want to talk about the way Starro looked. Because on one hand, I'm looking at him going, I don't know if this is good. If this is good CGI or bad CGI, because he was bright, he was colorful, he did not look, and this is something I don't know, I was like, I think the CGI was good, but here's the thing, I'm actually going to say I liked it, because now while I'm talking about it, I realize that yes, this is them embracing the comic book element.
Yeah, that might be the joke. Yep.
Starfish can be bright colored. You don't have to be dingy to look murderous. So, because he is bright pink. I mean, he looks the way he does in the comics.
Yeah.
It is awesome that he looks the way he does in the comics. So yeah, those bright colors, I guess.
I think it's part of the contrast and part of the absurdity and part of the joke, if anything. And while we're here, Marvel, if you ever decide to do Shimogorath and you puss out on it, I don't want to hear it. DC did Starro, and they did Starro right, so you can do Shimogorath now. it can be done.
Shimogorath is big green, basically big old eye with tentacles. So it's very similar in looks to Starro, for those of you who didn't know what he was talking about. Geez, what else? But yeah, Starro is a world-conquering villain. So I did not like that that Amanda Waller was like, no, let him go. You guys achieved your mission. Come on back. Now, she could have been thinking, then we'll, the Justice League eventually will show up or something anyway. But no, you got to stop this world-conquering alien creature. This is not
Well, they kind of did the same thing in the first one with Enchantress, which was originally a Justice League Dark villain. It in no way made sense that a guy who can conjure fire, a human croc creature, and a couple of people with guns and a bat can take out the Enchantress. And in the same way here, it's like, you're telling me that a guy who can conjure interdimensional polka dots, a living shark quasi-deity, and a bunch of people with guns can take out Starro the Conqueror. Okay.
Okay, so Don, first of all, let me get to, do you think the Caterpillar dude will make another appearance in Shazam? This is
Mr. Mind, yes. Hopefully.
Yes, he will. I have heard, though, his movie will not be the next movie. But I absolutely do. I wish Warner Brothers would just get off their ass and start making movies. It amazes me how afraid of DC Warner Brothers is.
They're so afraid of being their own genre that it hurts them.
I know. There should have been a DC Comics movie division a long damn time ago. In 1979, they should have started a DC Comics movie division when they found out how big Superman was. This pisses me off about Warner Brothers since I started loving movies. This is not a new thing. To me, this is not. I know a lot of newbies have jumped on this because the MCU is kicking ass while DCU doesn't. I have been thinking this, at the very least, we should have been getting animated movies from DC Comics movies division.
Especially when Paul Dini and Bruce Timm hit it out of the park in the 90s. Like,
there you go. Or before that, when you had people like Don Bluth and such breaking away from Disney to make their own movies. Let's get some of those animators who don't want to be with Disney anymore and put. So I've been pissed off at DC Comics for ever in a day about the fact that they don't produce DC comic movies. It's not like Marvel. Marvel had to find a studio to attach to. So they have that extra hurdle. I get that. And I get why we didn't get Marvel movies for as long as we did.
Yeah,
but DC and Warner Brothers have been tied together. Yeah. The fact that they never see the value in these characters. The fact that they
always try to fix what is broken. Yeah.
And then they give it to people like, and yeah, I know, I like Batman 89 as well, but they give it to people who don't know the freaking material, who look at a guy who goes so freaking nuts over the death of his parents, he dresses like a bat to beat the crap out of criminals, and they go, well, the villains are more interesting than the hero. You're freaking kidding me.
Yeah, only if you make them that way, you dumbasses.
Death Wish. Death Wish is a guy who goes freaking nuts and then goes after criminals. That had like 9 movies after it. 3 of them good. It just that's the stuff that DC Comics has been doing, and it's ridiculous. They should have been at least doing animated movies all throughout this. Yeah. Let's see. Just saw a few pics of Monster Society of Evil. They should totally make that happen. I agree. I think that will be awesome. And by the way, if you haven't read it, I do recommend a book from the 90s. It is Shazam and the Monsters Society of Evil. It's by Jeff Smith. Incredible story. But Starro in this movie is, I think, handled very well. But he is shown to be exactly as dangerous as he actually is.
They made him almost Lovecraftian in a lot of ways, especially when minor spoilers. Obviously, when Starro sends out his mind control spore things, and they latch on to people. Obviously, in order to defeat him, they have to get some of them off. That is not a good idea, or at least not good for the people who end up having to live through that.
One thing I did notice, and I did like it, is that he couldn't just keep firing him out. It's like Starro had to take a rest, and then he could fire more, and then he took a rest, and then he could shoot more of his little spores out. But
they're physiologically connected to him, so of course they'd hurt him coming out. Yeah.
Let's see. James Gunn knows his comics like Scott Derrickson and others. Yeah. There is something, and I hesitate to talk about it because to me it's the big death, the one that really freaking nailed me. I don't know. I mean, I guess because this, in my opinion, was the emotional spoiler to me. So honestly, guys, I'm going to give you 5, 4, 3, 2,
spoilers.
1. Okay. Here's the thing. Suicide Squad will be a franchise of rotating characters. That means as it should be, yes. That means you need to have central characters that
stick
people
around,
can latch on to. In my opinion, more so in the first one, that should be Rick Flag.
Yeah.
More than any. And I liked the way he played him here. I liked Rick Flag here better than I did in the first one.
Yeah, because he actually got to be Rick Flag and not just
he actually got the outfit, the whole 9 yards. So when I see what happens to him in this, first I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe they did that. I think that was short-sightedness on their part, because you really do need that central character. And here's the thing. Idris Elba is an expensive actor. So if you think he's coming back, in all honesty, he was not as charismatic as what's his name that played Rick Flag. I actually thought Rick Flag was the Captain Kirk, basically, between Bloodsport and
yellow shirt and all.
Yeah. He was the central figure of this. So I was not happy. He was also the one with the morals. He was the one with the moral center that you could gather around.
Yeah, I thought the same or something similar about when they 86 Polka Man at the 11th hour. It's not that he didn't go out well, and it's not that they didn't set up him going out well. It's that, if anything, if we must have a roster of rotating characters, like you said, and like I agree, that's what the Suicide Squad is and what it should be. But in my opinion, if anything, get rid of some of the more grounded characters and keep the weird ones around, because by the time we get to a third and a fourth Suicide Squad movie, what you could have is like Polka Dot Man, Crazy Quilt, Harley Quinn, Mr. Mind, maybe, if you wanted to throw him in here.
No, there's no way you could put a little freaking in the back of his head. He is a Shazam villain. Let him be a Shazam villain.
Well, true, but I'm saying that level of off the wall. And of course, Sapient Caterpillar is definitely in that ballpark of off the wallness.
You know what I think would be fun is to bring in a warrior like Guy Gardner and then inject him, but then he gets the ring. Just thought about it. It just popped in my head. But that might actually be fun.
But yes, you could, if you do this right and you don't kill off all the interesting ones, wind up with a team comprised primarily of the wackiest supervillains you can get your hands on.
And I get it. Actually, be a good time, yeah.
Yeah, and I get it. Some of them need to die because it is the Suicide Squad, and that's they're called the Suicide. It's called the Suicide Squad for a reason, because not everyone's coming back. But in future, obviously it's too late now, because I'll give them props for for allowing Polka Dot Man to even make it to the third act, because I thought for sure they were going to do that thing of like, here's a disposable character to get taken out in like the first 20 minutes, and yet they made Polka Dot Man not only make it to the third act and not only go out like a champ with a big hero moment, but
his
also
arc was done.
Yeah.
He did have a character arc in this movie, and he dies right after it was done.
And he was one of the 2 or 3 characters that were kind of the emotional center. The other one being, of course, Ratcatcher. And and speaking of that, I love the way Polka Dot Man and Ratcatcher kind of looked after each other. That was really sweet, and again, one of the reasons why I wish they had both stuck around. But in future, it'd be a good idea to leave the weird ones in there, and maybe 86 some of the more pedestrian ones.
You know what?
In just my opinion,
we're forgetting somebody. We are forgetting somebody, and this is somebody who was there from the beginning of the mission. And that is somebody, I think, who really, as much as Ratcatcher or Polka Dot Man, tied the group together and formed an emotional center. And that's Milton. Guys, that I'm going to leave up to you. You'll find out about Milton. But yes. It is a good time. Let's see. Dominic is saying, not to mention the Suicide Squad has heroic characters who keep the villains or odd characters in check, like Brod's Tiger, Nightshade, and Rick Flag are notable examples. I would like to have seen Katana, but I have no idea what she would have done in this particular movie. I could see
Clock King. I feel like would be a good one to kind of hold everything together.
The modern one where you could see like 6 or 8 seconds in the future. Yeah,
I'd be happy just with the the villainous Phileas Fogg version, the one from like the animated series. I don't like him having time powers. I think that's a little bit too much. I like that he's kind of just so OCD about time that he's figured out how everything works. Yeah. And if you want somebody to play like the straight man Rick Flag type role, get Tony Shalhoub, the guy who played Adrian Monk, and have him play the Clock King.
He's getting on there. I know we had an older hero this time around, but he's getting on in years. I don't know. Superhero movies are a young man's game.
Well, that's true. That was just the off the top of my head interesting casting for Clock King would be Tony Shalhoub, because basically Clock King is basically what would happen if you took Phileas Fogg from Around the World in 80 Days, mixed him together with Adrian Monk, and then had him go evil. That's sort of what Clock King is when he's at his best, in my opinion.
If I were dream casting, but I was using people of the past in their prime, I would have to go with. I do like the time, the one that we got in the Batman Adventures and all that kind of stuff. Even I would have to go with the dude that played Lex Luthor's father and Woodrow in Batman and Robin, and for some reason his name is out of my head, but I know the one you mean.
Yeah,
everybody knows him because he's been in like every genre film or at some point in time.
Another good one for Clock King might be Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah. That would be good. But there you go. I think this is such a freaking great film. And by great, I mean damn entertaining. Once again, not a perfect movie, but
you will have fun. It's crazy. It's bonkers. It's wonderful, and it's also really, really graphic, really, really bloody, and really, really edgy. Yes. So if you want something that doesn't give a crap about like people's taking offense and all the moral sensibility bullshit, you'll have a good time with this movie.
There was nobody doing this bit though at the end, and I thought that was what it was missing. Oh, come to me, Suicide Squad. Let me teach you how to belly dance.
I feel so bad for but yeah, this movie is zanier than Guardians or Guardians 2, and it's edgier and more violent than Deadpool. If that sounds like your bag, you'll enjoy this movie.
Here's the thing, though. This movie allows emotional beats. This is not a movie like Thor Ragnarok. Oh my gosh, we just saw our entire kingdom destroyed.
Don't ruin every
yeah
conceivable happy or emotionally fulfilling moment with a joke. It doesn't do that.
They let sad moments be sad moments. They let happy moments be happy moments, and that is definitely appreciated because, in my opinion, that is what is messing up the MCU more than anything.
Yeah, they constantly, every time they're in a semi-serious moment or a moment where people should be paying attention, it's like, and rapid fire joke. Okay, but why?
I know. Let's see. Are we forgetting anything? I think we've covered everything at this point in time, which stinks because now we've got an okay audience. We finally reached double digits.
Yeah.
Good to hear. Tired of ADHD movie. Oh yeah. I mean, aside from, of course, the identity politics that are creeping into the MCU, they're messing it up by not allowing there to be emotional weight. Here there is. When a character dies, they actually, if the character had any kind of emotional association to someone, you felt it. As a matter of fact, we joke about Milton, but the reason why we joke about Milton is because this is a character that dies, and then someone goes, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did, and they have a discussion about how this character dies, who, in all honesty, you kind of went, oh yeah, that guy, and then they tell you why you should have. Then they tell you why you should have had more emotional attachment to this.
That's the catch-22 of this movie, though. You will develop emotional connections to 90% of the characters, and also 90% of the characters will end up
90% of the characters you'll like, and only 5% of these characters are making it through. Yeah.
Yeah,
killing serious moments with dumbass jokes. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody gets erroneously called Beyonce for no reason. Cough, cough. 2016 Doctor Strange. In this movie.
Yeah, you're wrong, Teenage Mutant, but who cares? Trolls will troll. Okay, so anyway, and by the way, I have not seen that yet, but I'm wondering if the hate channels are going to go and hate on this movie and tell you why this is horrible, blah blah blah, yada yada.
Hate on Guardian, or hate on Suicide
Squad. Yeah,
I don't think so. I did while I was looking up reviews earlier, because I do like to kind of figure out what everyone is saying, what the popular kids are saying on the internet. The only negative review that surprised me, and it really did surprise me because usually she's more fair, is Grace Randolph. She, I think, did find it offensive to her sensibilities, and it was too risque for her. But as far as the Phantom Menace, the Geeks and Gamers, all those people, I saw Geeks and Gamers review of it or discussion of it, and he seemed to like it. So I don't think this is going to be a hate culture target type movie, mostly because it gives so few craps about all the woke identity and political bullshit that we've come to associate with ruining every single movie. This movie is basically designed to piss off Puritans and prudes of every description, whether you're a really traditional prude or a new neo social justice prude. You'll get pissed off with this movie.
Okay, so Teenage Moon Knight says he's not a troll. So you're saying that Suicide Squad is worse than fucking Thunder Force. You said the worst movie of 2021. Don't fill me with that bullshit, okay? So don't give me that I'm not a troll bitch, because you are. I hear this all the time. Oh my God, this is the worst movie of all time because this one scene. No, I'm sorry. This movie is not fucking worse than Thunder Force. You're not going to convince me that this movie is worse than half the shit out there. Well, hold on. Let me look up movies of 2021, and immediately discover like 15 or 16 films
that are infinitely worse than this movie.
But no. Oh my God, this one scene happened. This is the worst movie ever. I have been reviewing and talking about movies for 20 fucking years. And do you know what really pisses me off? Worst movie ever because of, get your ass to a fucking movie theater and line the fuck up.
Yeah.
If this is the worst movie you've ever seen or the worst movie of the year, you haven't been to a goddamn movie
you haven't
theater.
been to enough movies.
Don't give me that. I'm not a troll.
Yeah. Let me show you.
When you say that bullshit.
Yeah.
So here you go. I said I was going to do this. Space Jam fucking 2021. This movie's worse than fucking Space Jam. Boss Baby. This movie is worse than Have you seen the bullshit movie that was The Censor? It's fucking horrible. Spiral was horrible. Spiral was worse than this movie. I don't care what everybody says. Army of the Dead was a piece of shit that didn't bother with a script. I'm keeping going. Mortal Kombat sucked worse than this movie. Holy crap. Did you see a movie called Separation? It's a horror film. Did you know that they remade the goddamn Lord of the Flies in a fucking spaceship? And that movie was balls bad. Are you going to tell me that because, they didn't write the freaking Peacemaker the way I liked them, this is the worst movie of 2021? Have you not seen Coming to America #2?
Yeah.
That movie is a piece of number 2. I have been hearing worst movie ever of good movies for 20 fucking years. Watch a film and then come back and talk to me.
Yeah.
Done. You're not going to fucking tell me that any one of those movies are better than this. So if you want to give a freaking nuanced review about something, come on ahead and tell me your fucking opinion.
Yeah.
And then I won't think you're a troll. But if you're going to lay out, this is the worst fucking movie of 2021, bullshit. If you want to come on and rebut, I will let you because I just lost my shit.
Yeah.
But there you go. Okay.
Further to that, though, not only is this not the worst movie of 2021, it's within a darn shot of being one of the better ones of this year.
Long story short was worse.
It's
the Wrong Turn remake was worse.
Okay, yes, but
the fucking remake of okay, go on.
Are you okay?
No, I'm not, because Shadow in the Clouds was fucking worse. There's so many goddamn worse movies.
I know.
Oh my Lord. But I've been listening to it for 20 goddamn years. Finally, I've got a YouTube channel. I could say something about it. Stop with the goddamn this movie is worse because I got butthurt over a movie.
If you genuinely want to know where this falls in terms of DC movies or comic book movies, I would say, and this is going to be controversial, but I would say that this is better than both of the Deadpool movies so far. And I know that's controversial, but I'm sticking to it because as far as I'm concerned, this movie, Suicide Squad 2021, set the bar for raunchy R-rated comic book movies, especially comic book comedies.
Let me do this. Here you go. I just lost my shit on someone, so I do give them the chance to rebut. If you've got a decent mic, you want to come on, go on ahead. I invite you on there, man, because it is unfair to go off like that and not give somebody a voice.
Right.
It really is. It really
feel free.
is. Yeah. The hologram movie is trash. That movie was suck. And what's worse is a movie about it's about a movie about social media that has no idea how social media works.
It's horrible, and as YouTubers, it's extra horrible because it doesn't do YouTube right. But back to Suicide Squad 2021. I would say it's better than both of the existent Deadpool movies. I would say it's better than every Zack Snyder DC movie, with the possible exception of If It's Your Bag, the Snyder Cut. I could see some people liking the Snyder Cut better than this movie if you're more for the epicified dark superhero movie than the zany, colorful one.
Once again, I think that that might actually be technically the better film. But I think that this is the more enjoyable one.
Yeah, this one has a lot more heart, a lot more color, a lot more blood spatter, and a lot more intensity if that's your game. And it also has quite a lot of characters that are worth giving a damn about.
Yeah. Oh no, dude, teenage. I know, but I just went off. So by all means, I don't like the fact that I do sometimes do that, but I do want to give people a chance if they want to have their
because
you might actually have more to say that just beyond that. But I know this is not the worst film of 2021.
Not by a wide margin. No,
you might be able to back that up as to why this movie is worse than Thunder Force or any number or Space Jam 2. You might be like, Space Jam 2 had an amazing script. The animation was awesome. LeBron James, top tier actor, far exceeds Idris Elba in every way, shape, or form. Better beard, maybe. So I would love to hear you come on and tell me why Space Jam was a better movie than Suicide Squad 2.
Mm-hmm. I think you genuinely have a hard time making that case, in all earnestness. But that being said, I think it's probably the best comic book movie from this year. It's probably the best comic book movie from last year, as well.
Well, that's not saying much, though.
Well, no, because there weren't as many movies last year to begin with. I will say I think Joker is a better movie than this, but they are vastly different movies.
Hold on. There's a question that Joker is a better movie than this. But here's the thing. Once again, I will probably watch Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it's less good, but it's more fun and more. It's definitely more comic booky. And I will say this: if you're like me and you're thinking, "Come on, can we get away from the street level stuff? Can we get into the more weird side of things, please?" If that's your game, if you're like me in that way, this movie will scratch that itch something really good. If you're one of those people that was mad that WandaVision, underwhelmed everyone's expectations with a glorified boner joke, watch this movie. It will fix you right up, I think.
WandaVision, great freaking show, horrible freaking ending.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, literally undoes a lot of goodwill in the last 5 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like the true villain of the movie, her, never got comeuppance.
It's not. It's I rewatched it recently, and I've found that if there was 2 or 3 more episodes like episode 8, which was the Wanda backstory episode where Agatha taught her about runes and stuff. If there were a couple more episodes like that, I wouldn't have complained as much. But because of the way it ended, and because they crapped all over people's expectations and then wanted to whine as to why were you expecting things, Derp, even though we set you up to expect things.
But the thing is they only did that because we knew about the Marvel Universe. We were the ones that were making all of the, remember, because in this scene right here, and that means this. It really was.
Here's the other thing. In a world where the internet exists and where this is the dominant popular culture, you kind of got to play to your audience. And if your audience is expecting something like, if your audience is expecting a Mephisto or a Chthon or so on and so forth, then you got to at some point kind of deliver. That being said, Suicide Squad 2021 definitely does deliver. It makes you care about Polka Dot Man. It makes you care about Starro. It makes Ratcatcher 2 the emotional center of the movie, for crying out loud. So if you are one of those true blue comic book fans that loves to death the weird, wacky, like Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, and Steve Englehart type isms, this is going to be one of the movies that's going to scratch your itch, and it's going to leave you going, if they can do Starro and Polka Dot Man and Ratcatcher 2 as the emotional center of the movie, why couldn't I have gotten Chthon in WandaVision? That's what this movie's probably going to make you do, in the best way possible.
You and I have argued many times that because you tend to not like movies because of what they're not. Like you go into a movie expecting certain things. And you and I have had arguments about the fact that you can't do that. You're messing up the movie. They're not messing up the movie. And we've had this discussion where you would be like, well, they're going to do this story, but first they have to do the first 10 years of comic book history that we get. And you can't do that with the movies. You can't bring in every bit of history that we're.
No, this is what you always do when we have this argument. You expect me to be arguing that it should be identical, and I've never argued that it should be identical. I've always argued that they should use the tools that they have, and Suicide Squad 2021 is a perfect example of exactly what I mean. Because instead of whining that, oh, we can't do Polka Dot Man, he's too zany, or oh, we could never pull off Starro, he's too weird for the mainstream audience, this movie brought it. And Shazam is another great example. That movie had Mr. Mind, the Seven Deadly Sins, and the entire Shazam family in the first movie. Meanwhile, Endgame couldn't be arsed to do so much as one single Celestial, even though they'd been setting up the Celestials since Guardians 1. So, yeah.
No. They haven't been setting up the Celestials to appear. They just told you about them.
And it's an interconnected universe where things have to pay off eventually.
That means they have existed. That doesn't mean they exist. As a matter of fact, the only evidence of them that we have is a dead one. So there are, I wouldn't say that you should expect them in any movie until they actually appear. Now, maybe in this next phase we'll get them. I don't expect it to happen. Because, know that's
a cop out, and I'm not gonna.
Okay.
I'm not gonna argue with a point that you, on some level, know is disingenuous. But
here's the thing. Teenage Mutant Moon Knight Productions, come on, because yes, you definitely need to. You're definitely trolling at this point, and you're about to be knocked off. Let's go through this. Phase 4 is bad. Wanda should have gotten her comeuppance in WandaVision, says Dominic.
She will in Doctor Strange too.
I have a thing for Agatha, but yeah, I heard it was bad. The show is good. I will say WandaVision is good. It's a good show.
With a terrible ending.
The last 5 minutes is what makes it bad.
I'd say the last episode.
Yeah.
But
I don't think the whole episode, but yes, I think the last bit, because Wanda should have had some sort of obviously not comeuppance, because that bothers Mata Nui, but she should have gotten her just desserts, as I have said.
Or at the very least, her breakdown should have been treated like a breakdown.
By the way, there are no realistic superhero movies unless you watch something like what was that one with Rainn Wilson? It's also directed by James Gunn.
Super.
Yeah, there you go. But there are no realistic superhero. They don't mix.
Yeah, and nor should they. And I think a large part of the problem with so many superhero movies is they do try to dumb it down and do try to apologize for their source material. And
this is a troll phrase.
Yeah.
If you say the word every, then you cannot be taken seriously, because that means you're not actually thinking about anything. That is a troll phrase. So that's
I'd require you to specify why. Yeah. What is it about those movies that you don't like? If you make a blanket statement like that, you have to define your terms and you have to defend your actual logic. That being said, if you are sick of Marvel coming right up to the maximum fill line and then stopping, or you are sick of there being potential that's never fully touched on, a movie like Suicide Squad 2021, getting back on topic because we did kind of completely sidebar.
Let's see. Oh, by the way, I was a projectionist for about 12 years. I've worked in movie theaters for about 15, managed a couple. I've seen everything released into theaters in the 1990s. I have been watching over 150 movies a year since. And this is, I have no, this is just what I love to do. I can tell you right now that there's no such thing as a real movie. They're all real movies. Some are good movies.
If it's made, then it exists. So it's by definition.
Some movies are meant to be dramas, of course. Some can just be character films. Some are mixes. Some are big splashy movies. Some are just dumb fun. Mm-hmm. But there is no real movie because that's subjective.
Yeah, there's once again such a thing as well done movies and because, not well done movies.
And because you put together this is the only thing I will ever like because this is the only thing I will ever accept as a real movie. That means you're not actually paying attention.
Yeah, you're not judging
bad in movies that
you're not judging the movie on its merits or even its implications or its potential. You're judging it on arbitrary external criteria.
I've watched so many movies from France, Korea, I'll watch any movie. Although I tend not to particularly care for European independent films and such like that.
Yeah,
they bore the piss out of me.
Bothers me.
But yeah, but okay, yeah, I do give them their moments, their day in the sun. I'm very weary about people who say every movie is this or every this or that. Now, granted, I could see it like if you came up and said, "Look, I don't like Marvel movies because," okay, that's fine. That's your opinion. Everybody's got that opinion. I think I have found all the Marvel movies to be bad because they just do this, and this, and this, and it's more than likely somebody's going to find the exception to your rule anyway.
Yeah, or if you judge a particular creative work because every Tim Burton movie is going to be a whimsical dark fantasy.
Hold on just a second.
That sort of thing.
Okay, does anybody? Obviously, Dalton, you have a microphone. This guy, you got a microphone. Dominic, you got a microphone. Everybody in the chat, do you want to tell me why this is a bullshit statement? I mean, the obvious reason why this is a bullshit statement right here.
No,
please allow this gentleman or lady to understand why this is a 100% bullshit statement.
Okay, Teenage Mutant Productions or whatever your name is, I can't even quite see the entire screen. But, sir, Anglantine and I disagree a lot.
But also, hold on. There is something that happened that makes this a 100% bullshit statement.
Mm-hmm.
I put the freaking link.
Yes.
Into the chat.
If you want to disagree and do so on the stream, the potential is available for you to do so insofar as you have a mic.
Yeah, now I can actually get into this. The thing I hate about MCU is that it's too comedic and the heroes don't take anything serious. That's why I think, and see, here's the thing. I would agree that I wouldn't say they're all bad, but the movies after Guardians of the Galaxy lack an emotional punch that the ones before Guardians of the Galaxy did. So if you want to talk about how horrible the movies are, I probably agree more with the after. Winter Soldier, I think everybody's going to be defending on that one. Iron Man, Iron Man. The one thing that I would say that all Marvel movies have done at a certain point is they went digital instead of film. So they have this look to them that are very much the same. There's a kind of color palette
Yeah,
that
and
combines them all. That on one hand you can look and go, okay, that's an artistic choice because it puts them all in the same world.
right, and
but it also lacks the depth with all the colors.
This is actually something that I will criticize the MCU on, and maybe it is just an aesthetic choice, but in the case of the more street level movies like Winter Soldier or Civil War and that, the backgrounds always look washed out and gray and desaturated. It's less of a problem with the cosmic side because movies like the Guardians movies and Thor Ragnarok tend to up the color because they're going more zany and more cosmic. Generally, I would prefer if the entire aesthetic of the MCU utilized color better, because this is something that, in just terms of movies, I find to be an issue. Somewhere along the way, filmmakers stopped knowing how to utilize color well. And quite frankly, if you're not going to utilize color in your movie as part of the cinematic experience, just make a black and white movie. It'll make everyone's life easier, and it'll make your life easier, because black and white movies look aesthetically. It's easier to have a black and white movie look aesthetically pleasing anyway.
All right.
So yeah. Yet another thing that I will compliment Suicide Squad 2021 on is they utilize color well. While we're on that topic,
Dominic, how are you doing? What do you have to say about? Let's get back to Suicide Squad 2. What did you think?
Well, so far it got me excited into looking into the movie. So I'm debating on either Friday or the coming weekend to watch it. But if I'm gonna watch it on Friday, I'm gonna see it because it looks fun, and also it's way more comic book than the first movie was.
Very much so. Very much so. Yes. It embraces the comics. So I take it you don't have HBO Max.
No, I prefer.
I'm gonna have to dip out because I can't hear Dominic and it's doing that thing. So I'll hop out and hop back in.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, this one does embrace the comic book aesthetic. It's a lot more colorful. It's a lot more. But the thing is, it doesn't chintz on the character, and that is its strength. If you do not care of the who, you're not going to care about the what, and I think James Gunn understands this. It's the difference between the first Suicide Squad and this one is the same difference between the Justice League and the Snyder Cut. You just get a hell of a lot more character in it, and that just makes you care about what's going on a lot more. There you go. Let's see.
What gets me is why are movie adaptations of either comic book characters that we know or a series that is really obscure, yet it apologizes for where it came from. Like it's unnecessary. They should embrace where they come from while playing around with what was established in the source material, and actually expand on characters or plot points that didn't get a chance to be explored in the source.
Exactly, and that's exactly but that's exactly the point I keep at least trying to make. Stop being afraid of your source material, and I think part of the reason why they're so apologetic to flagellate themselves for embracing their source material is because on some level, Hollywood in general seems to believe that comic books aren't real art, so nothing made from them can be real art. And I would disagree on both of those metrics. I would say to anyone, if you think that comic books aren't real art, then you're an idiot. And if you think that you can't adapt real art from comic books, then you're also an idiot.
Okay. Let's see. Let me. I think older people. I think there's a lot of older people out there, like myself, who have been dealing with the afraid to embrace the comic book roots since, in all honesty, Batman '89, which did have a lot to do with the comics, or at least they created a lot that had a comic book aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, it had to be they tried to ground it, and you hear this, oh, we're trying to put this into the real world, and I don't want that. I never wanted that.
Want an adaptation of the source material, if you please.
When I saw King Shark first in the Flash TV show, that blew my freaking mind. When I saw Gorilla City, that blew my mind. That's what I want to see. I want to see the talking tree and raccoon. I want to see the stuff. And if you're gonna, one of the greatest things about comic books is no matter there is no budget. You know, whatever you want to see happen, the artist can draw, and you have that happen. And
there are no genre limitations either, because comic books have been built out of basically all the stories that were too weird to tell anywhere else. You know, sword and sorcery, sci-fi, you know, mad scientists, so on and so forth. So comics can go weirder than every other genre can go.
Yeah, so a lot of when I hear a lot of I've said this before. Anytime a new comic book movie comes out, there's at least one or two articles. Are we tired of comic book movies yet? I will always say no. I will always say no. We're not tired of comic book movies, because my 51-year-old ass has sat through countless romantic comedies, countless crime procedures, countless shitty horror films, countless crappy art house films. Yes, Teenage Mutant Moon Knight Productions, those exist too. I discovered that a long time ago when I kind of worked myself out of my art house phase. Yeah, I had that too. I had my art house phase as well, where, oh, well, you know, the movies were like this. They're not really delving into the characters. So and then I found out, you know what, there's just as many bad movies going to the art house as there are that are going to the major screens. I love the ones that can combine character and the big explosions, in all honesty. So that has always been my favorite.
And here's the other thing. Back to what I was saying with the anti superhero or anti comic book bias thing that Hollywood seems to have. Notice that you never see, no matter how many bad horror movies get released in January, you never see "Are we done with horror movies yet?" article, or for as many bad westerns as there were.
Are we done telling Liam Neeson he's still young enough to be an action hero? That happens every January also.
Yeah, or are we done with action shoot 'em up movies? Are we done with family fantasy movies? You know, you never see those articles. Why? Because people know that those are valid genres. The only reason why you get "is this the beginning of superhero fatigue?" articles is because on some level, these twits who think they're better than certain varieties of art.
Oh, I've dealt with them also for a long time.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, really, the trigger word for me, the reason why I did go off on Teenage Moon Knight is the word all and every. It shows that in all honesty, you said that you're a critic, and that's awesome. That's awesome. Good luck to you. Putting in words like all and every really does show that you're giving no thought to the movie that you're watching. I recently did a review of a comic book. It's called I Am Not Starfire. I've seen other people put in their comic book reviews as well, and I've only seen really one that went over the book much like I did. A lot of it was, let's insult this for what do the kids call it? The lulz.
Yeah.
Very rarely have I seen an actual review of it. Now, it would have been very easy for me to dismiss it. I actually did a review today. Well, I think it was today of another book. What goddamn book? Oh, Mom. Where I admitted I didn't read it because it was so horrible. I got about 3/4 of the way in. It was so horrible I couldn't finish it. But it was different. It was bad in a different way than I Am Not Starfire. Excuse me. I Am Not Starfire was bad in a Rocky Horror Picture Show way. Mom was bad in a just actually bad. It was poorly written. It was not structured well. So it was what you would legitimately call a bad comic book. But the thing is, I already had a sense it was going to be bad before I picked it up. Yet I still managed to give it a fair review, only of course to find out that I was right in the first place. Same with I Am Not Starfire. I read it and I was willing to and gave it a fair review, speaking on its benefits as well as its thing. If you
actually criticized it for what it is and what was in the actual content of the piece, rather than the implications and the meta narratives and the woo aspect of it. And that's the thing I was saying about why are there so many "Are we done with superhero movies?" or is there superhero fatigue article? It's because, unlike every other genre in creation,
if you
these people on some level want to or expect or would be fine with comic book films failing, where they wouldn't be fine with the entire horror genre going up in smoke or the entire Western genre going up in smoke.
You're off the point that I'm trying to make. Thank you very much, though. The point I'm trying to make is if you use words like every, if you use words like all, you are automatically dismissing something because of it, maybe of its genre or something. You could say, "Oh, I hate all family films." Really, all family films? Like you don't like any of the Pixar movies? You don't like any of the classics that have been
Studio Ghibli?
There's so many out there, and usually people don't hate good movies. They either haven't seen them or they don't agree with you, and they aren't good movies to them. The only opinion that is the correct one is yours. I know that sounds almost contrary to everything I just said, but the thing is that is what they believe. So to them, that's not. Mother is not a great movie. I'm sorry. I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you like it, but it's not really all that great, and it's not as smart as you might think it is. It's a very obvious movie. So right away, to me, not only it was a very obvious allegory that then just hammered it in. It was not there was no subtlety to it. So when it did come time to devour the body of Christ and so forth and so on, at that point I was like, okay, that was just the obvious way to go.
Yeah, and that's another convention that I'm beginning to get really sick of, is everything's about the meta narrative, everything's about the symbolism, everything's about the woo. Never mind the content or the implications of the content. It's all about the abstract implications of the thing, never the actual thing itself. God damn it.
Now here's the main point. Why should my not liking Mother make you hate it any less? Now I have a YouTube channel here, and my responsibility is to be honest with my audience. Now I might say something they don't like. I might actually lose my shit on them occasionally, which I have done. I apologize. But the thing is that I cannot tell a lie to my audience. The audience is more intelligent than you. They will always be more intelligent than you. But and they can sniff out insincerity. Well, maybe not. Doomcock's got a freaking huge audience.
Well,
he's done anything sincere.
But
the point being is that just because somebody hates something you love doesn't mean you gotta love it any less. There is a bad rom-com that I find to be fantastically enjoyable. It's called Fever Pitch. It stars Mark, what's his name? He's got that freaking talk show now.
Wahlberg?
No, he's the guy on Tonight Show now that does the stupid skits and everything. He's got a ride at Universal. Used to be on Saturday Night Live. But it's got him and Drew Barrymore. It's all about him being a Red Sox fan, and she's kind of got a deal because he's like serious baseball fan. I couldn't tell you why I like it as much as I do, but I've heard a lot of people say it's crap. Doesn't change the fact that I love it. Adam Sandler is a freaking mystery to me. Why do I like Adam Sandler movies? I couldn't tell you. I do know that they're bad movies. I know that but damn, if I don't enjoy something,
with the exception of Punch Drunk Love, that one I will defend as being.
Oh, that is a great, that is actually a great movie. Yes, that's not a Adam Sandler movie. That's a Paul Anderson movie.
Mm-hmm.
So that stars Anderson. Yeah. But yeah, be a critic. I think that's awesome. Just understand that people are not always going to agree with you. Don't and try not to use words like every and all, because that's desperate speak.
And here's the other thing. Always be aware of your reasons why you don't like something. It's not enough to just declare from the heavens, this is bad, this is good, this is whatever. You should always be aware of your reasoning as to why, and be willing to argue with people. Be willing to entertain arguments both for and against your own opinions, because this is the problem with what I call subjectivity rhetoric. A lot of people use subjectivity as a get out of rational argument free card. Whenever you've truly got somebody in a corner, or their reasons for liking or not liking something don't make any freaking sense, they'll just default to, well, you can't argue for taste. Mind you, usually these are the very same people who willingly and willfully engaged in an argument from taste, but pulled out the you can't argue from taste line the exact second they started losing the argument from taste.
Yeah.
So my thinking is, you can, to some extent at least, argue from taste. You just can't be a disingenuous fuckwit and try to weasel your way out of the argument when you start losing the argument. That's my opinion.
Or at least when I did reviews for the Extreme Movie Show, one thing I liked about this, and me and Rob are very much like this, you can't be a pussy about things. If you've got an opinion, you got to be able to back that up, and you cannot and if you say a movie is good, be willing to talk about its merits, and you can't use the word good. And if you think a movie is bad, you can't just go, well, it sucks. No, you got to back that stuff up.
Why?
Show reason.
The ins and outs of how and why is important.
Always stand up with for your opinion. Now, Suicide Squad 2, can we just call it that?
Yeah.
I think it's just damn fun. Black Widow was brought up. And it was Rygar who's saying, for example, Black Widow deserved better. It should have been a Winter Soldier level film, but it ended up being subpar.
I agree.
Yeah.
I actually had fun with Black Widow, but then my brain turned on. And this happened twice this year. Don't turn my brain on, okay? I want to enjoy the movie for what it's showing me. If you make me think about your plot, then you're going down. That's if you actually do that. Mother is one of those films. Black Widow is a movie that did that to me. And the other movie this year that did that was The Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt, where I'm watching it, and there's these people come to there's a football game on, and these soldiers appear, and they say that there's a war going on in the future, and we need to recruit people from the past. So they decide to take people who are going to die soon anyway.
Yeah.
And then you get to the recruitment and you start noticing a bunch of BS. We're told that there have been people who already left and came back, yet nobody knows what these things look like. And they say, well, we didn't want to show pictures because people would be too scared to go. Well, somebody got together with a police artist and here's what it looked like.
Or there was a myth about the thing or whatever.
Yeah, but they're not saying this happened. So that's step one. Oh, well, sometimes we don't have time to train you. Yeah, you freaking do.
Yeah, you have time travel. This time is an irrelevancy as far as this resource goes.
What they're doing is they're sending cannon fodder to the future. But then the worst part is, and this is spoiling Tomorrow War, excuse me. Chris Pratt makes it back. What they were trying to do was build this gas that would make these creatures vulnerable, and it would actually eat them up from the inside. And he brings back this formula. And as he's coming back to the past, in the future, their time tower is destroyed. Now, the way their time travel works is that it's like Bill and Ted. An hour here is an hour there. So we're traveling, you're traveling at the same pace all throughout. So you can't travel to
5 minutes ago and spend an hour there. Or something.
And if you travel back in time, you travel basically, if you spent 7 days in the future, you travel back to 7 days in the past. Get it?
Right.
Okay, so he travels back and he's got the formula and he says, I got the formula. We can make it. And we could. And they go, no, the time tower was destroyed. We can't make the gas and we can't take it back to the future, destroy the animals or the alien creatures. And I was like, excuse me, principal, pardon, excuse me. You don't need a damn time machine to travel to the future, you dicks.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. The future's going to happen. So but they were not even considering taking the formula to now make 10, 20, 30 years worth of formula to stop these to stop these creatures. So right away that movie took me. I'm no longer with it. I am now working against it. Black Widow was exactly the same way.
And I'm kind of, and I think this might be why Angletina and I disagree so much on some movies, is because I'm kind of the opposite. I'm sort of the type of, don't expect me to turn my brain off just to make your own movie work. And that's one of the reasons I have such a problem with meta woo, as I call it. The everything is about the symbolism, everything is about the theme, everything is about the non-diegetic aspects of the movie, nothing has to do with the actual content of the movie. Because usually what you get when you get a movie that's focused more on the symbolism or the meta woo than the actual content of the movie, the content of the piece, is they will bend the in-universe logic completely out of joint to make the meta commentary work. Or they'll bend the character motivations completely out of joint to make the meta commentary work. And I hate that shit, because if you have to break your own universe to make your meta commentary work, the meta commentary is not organic to the piece. Full stop. If you can't have a movie that can be commentary without completely changing how characters act or how worlds work, then you can't do meta commentary in that way. I'm sorry.
A movie that goes against its own logic that I actually enjoy, but I hate the fact that I can't stop thinking about it, is Back to the Future 2. According to its own logic, they sent Einstein into the future 2 minutes. He wasn't there next to them. So that means Marty McFly cannot travel to the future to save his future self and family and see himself. Because as soon as he left Hill Valley to go into the future, he no longer existed for all of those years in time. So that had me right when I saw it in 1990. I couldn't take that.
Back to the Back to the Future movies, as fun as they are, the time travel in them makes no freaking sense. And to their credit, at least they tried. Unlike, say, Avengers Endgame, which through whatever time travel conventions we need to make this plot work, and see what sticks, approach. Because one minute it's multiverse theory, the next minute it's He
is willing and ready to go with you right now. That bird wants out and wants you to take him out, honey. Honey, the bird is, don't leave the room. The bird. Take the bird. She's not taking the bird. Okay, let's see. I'm with the authenticator. My brain is basically looking for what the director is trying to do during the movie. If the director throws me a curveball and keeps me guessing, that's a good film. And I think that's also something to take into account. People watch movies differently. I watch it to be on a roller coaster ride. If it's a drama, I'm an emotional one. If it's action, I want the highs and the lows. If it can do both, that's awesome.
And I appreciate that you agree with me, but I think I need to clarify something, because I'm not generally interested in what the director is trying to do to me when I watch a movie. My thinking is artists should be subservient to their own art, if anything. I'm kind of in the Michelangelo school of thinking. Michelangelo, perhaps apocryphally, is attributed to have said, the sculpture is already in the marble. I'm just the tool that chips away the unnecessary bits. Honestly, I think we need to go back to that approach, because I hate this authorial authority that we give creatives and directors today, that they can just declare things from on high as though they're God and we're supposed to take it, especially when you have a situation where a director or writer doesn't understand their own material or what makes their own material compelling. Case in point, and probably my go-to example or my go-to comparison with this is back in the early 2000s, Thomas Harris made or helped make the movie Hannibal Rising to give Hannibal Lecter a backstory. And it was terrible because it didn't appear like Thomas Harris understood why the audience of the movies and the books like Dr. Lecter. Compare that to the guy who wrote the book that Who Framed Roger Rabbit is based on. His book was completely different from the movie, but he saw the movie and went, actually, the movie did it better. I got it wrong. Let me change things around in the sequel to make it more in line with the movie. I have a lot of respect for directors and writers and creatives who can admit when the audience or the material itself gets the better of them, and when they don't, can admit when they don't understand their own material. Because as a writer, as a creative, as a director, your job is to be the vessel for the story or the movie or whatever. You're not in control of it. That's my rant, I guess.
Okay, let me tell for those of you jumping on. I see we're adding and losing people. We did our Suicide Squad review. We're now talking about just basically movies and movie criticism in general. The Suicide Squad short version of the review is good stuff. Check it out. I think, but that's both of our opinion. Dominic, I think you're going to have a good time. Sorry to spoil some of it for you. But yeah, I had a great time with it, and I am kind of sad to see Harley Quinn taking a break. I would rather see a James Gunn Harley Quinn film.
I'm kind of glad that she's taking a little bit of a break so she doesn't overstay her welcome, especially because she seems to be a little different every time a new director or a new creative team gets a hold of her.
Oh my gosh, I hated Birds of Prey. Hated Birds of Prey.
It's terrible.
Hated.
It's feminist propaganda, and it's
hated it.
Just awful.
Hated it.
I mean, it's so bad that women went to the movie theaters and enjoyed Rambo Last Blood more than Birds of Prey.
Rambo Last Blood was a lot of. I like that movie. That was a lot of fun.
I didn't end up seeing it because action movies really aren't my thing, but
everybody's got their thing. That just
I'm glad the people that enjoyed it though.
Yeah. As far as art house films and such like that, Teenage Moon Knight. Now, this might not be considered an art house film. It is a French film. It's something that not a lot of people know about. I would direct you to a 1990s movie called POTE. It is from France. It is a movie that ended me emotionally. I mean, it is so. There is a scene where a 6-year-old little girl acts out. Her mother dies, and she just. There's a scene where basically she has a connection. She has a breakdown over it, and it is something that will just destroy your soul. It is so sad, and that is a French film. But and it's possibly it's one of the best movies I've ever seen. I will never see again. There are just some movies like that. I do not want to put myself through that again. It is an emotional hell, that movie, but it is so intense and so effective because this is basically a movie about a 6-year-old girl dealing with the death of her mother. I'm telling you, it is absolutely incredible and incredibly devastating. So if you want a good art house film, go check out Panay or try to find it. It is something like 25 years old, and it's from France, and nobody but me seems to have heard about it. Yeah. But
as long as we're recommending art house movies, I saw a movie a couple of years ago, and I believe it first premiered at Sundance. It was called The Best Offer, and it has Gary Oldman in it. It's very, very art housey, but also especially if you're like me and that you have a background in collecting antiques or in like art appraising and stuff, you'll really get a kick out of it, because the main cut and thrust of the movie is Gary Oldman's character Gary Oldman's character is an art appraiser who collects forgeries of famous works of art, because forgers or people who collect forgeries is its own market. And he also, throughout the course of the movie, is putting together this automaton from like the 19th century, and he winds up falling in love with an agoraphobic, eccentric rich woman who asked him to appraise stuff in her home. And essentially, long story short, she ends up convincing him that he's in love with her, so that she can take all of his collection of forgeries.
Wow.
And yeah, it's really.
And what's this called again?
It's called The Best Offer.
Yeah, I see. Okay, yeah, I thought that I have seen that movie. That is a good movie. I like that one. The very first movie, I don't think even art houses. I know a few of them still exist, but now it's like, okay, that's what they're going to release on Netflix instead of put to the theaters. First movie I saw in an art house, as far as being an art house movie is concerned, because the one near us, we've got this movie theater called the Enzian, and I saw a whole bunch of classic films there because it was one of the only places that showed them on the big screen. The first movie that was an independent film shown in this art house was a movie called Frankenhooker. I kid you not. It wasn't anything that was it wasn't highbrow entertainment or something like that. It wasn't this la-di-da, aren't we pretentious as hell kind of thing. It was a movie called Frankenhooker, about a guy whose girlfriend dies in a lawnmower accident, gets her head lopped off. So he decides to save her life by attaching it to the body parts of dead hookers.
Yeah, there's a thin line between art house and grime house, folks.
There's
a very thin line between art house and grime house sometimes.
Yeah. All righty, so we've been at this for about an hour and 46.
And we've only been talking about the Suicide Squad for like the first hour. So
the first hour of this is the Suicide Squad review, yes, and the rest of it we've just been talking about movies and movie criticisms. Is this the best superhero movie of the year? What superhero movies were there? I mean, it might.
It's better than Black Widow, so if that's your...
Yeah, it's better than Black Widow.
Watermark.
It's definitely better than Thunder Force. The only one that it's side by side with to me right now is Justice League Snyder Cut, because I really love the Snyder Cut. It was my favorite film of the year, and I want to watch Suicide Squad one more time. Once we stop here, I'm going to watch it again. Right, honey?
Yeah.
No. Gil's like, oh my God, are you really? No, I won't do that to you.
I will say this. I am probably biased for this movie because this movie is my jam in that it goes as zany and weird as it does go. I think you'll like it. If you like Deadpool, if you like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, if you like, oddly enough, like the John Wick movies, I think this movie will be up your alley. And if you're looking for something, that does go weirder and does embrace comic book movie-ness on a level that most comic book movies unfortunately aren't embracing, this will hit the spot.
I gotta tell you, I think this movie's about 10 minutes too long. Like about 10 minutes towards the end, I was feeling it. You know,
I think some stuff in the second act probably could be cut out. But other than that, I think you'll come away caring about most of the characters, or at least finding most of the characters compelling, if not necessarily caring about them. You'll find yourself entertained in a gore sense and a violent sense, and you'll find yourself entertained in a over the top comic booky sense. So
Yeah.
if all of that is your jam, then you'll get a kick out of this movie.
There's a saying that Roger Ebert did, Rygar, who's saying all of them are at least 10 minutes too long. There's a saying that's, I love this. A great film is never too long, and a bad movie can't get over soon enough.
Yeah.
I like that one. This one, like I said, it's not a great film. It's a good movie.
And it's fun as hell.
It really is fun as hell. Yeah, I do like that. But the great Roger Ebert. Whatever happened to 90-minute films? You know what? I think the 30-minute YouTube channel, or the fact that we now have a review video that's almost as long as the movie we're reviewing.
Yeah.
I think that kind of thing may have ended it.
I tend to like movies that are a little bit closer to like 2 hours 30, so I'm not complaining.
The movie needs to be exactly as long as it needs to be, in my opinion. Give me my 70-minute Nightmare Before Christmas, I'm A-okay. I don't need it to be any longer. You know, it depends on the film itself. So I think Dumbo, as a matter of fact, talking about another Disney movie, was barely over an hour. So
the animated one, obviously.
Yeah, well, yeah. And I actually am one of those people who I did not hate the Dumbo remake, the live action.
Speaking of a movie that could have been longer, I could have used about 20 more minutes of Pink Elephants on Parade in the live action version.
Oh, that movie's out on Netflix right now, Jim. That might actually be the movie we watch. What else did we see? What did we see recently, hon? What did we see? Oh, we saw the Wrong Turn remake. That was a movie. There were images on my TV while we watched it. There were things I liked about it. Gail was right when she said, if they titled this movie anything else, I would like it better. But since they attached it to the Wrong Turn franchise, it wasn't a very good Wrong Turn thing. So, yeah. But yeah, when you have to sacrifice a fourth of your day to watch a movie, whoa. Yeah,
if it's a good movie, then I don't mind.
But I have sat and watched all of Gone with the Wind. I went to the theaters to see Hamlet, the 5-hour Kenneth Branagh version.
Oh God, Lord of the Rings, the extended cuts.
Yeah, I have thought to myself, I haven't watched those in so long. I think I'm going to make a day of it and just watch them. Like on Saturday when I'm working the auction, usually I just sit down and I watch movies while I'm making sure everything is set and ready. So, and I think I didn't put any content here because I found myself unable to do the job I used to do. I said that that on this channel, I'm going to talk about more of the behind the scenes, the drama stuff and such like that.
But now that you've seen the dark underbelly of where that leads,
well, I don't want to do Twitter fights and all that kind of stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. But the thing is I looked on the Mary Sue. There's nothing going on. I looked on Cool. There's nothing going on. It's like you gotta find something and then make shit up about it. And I just don't want to do that.
There is the Scarlett Johansson suing Disney thing and the
yeah, but according to the internet, that's old news. That's like 4 days old. When you do this kind of thing, you got to be a little bit more fresh.
But yeah, it's odd. But on my podcast that I do every week with the Brainstormer of Pop Culture, we used to get a lot of material out of the Mary Sue because the Mary Sue is one of those things that normally, if you want something to react to, it's a gold mine. Yeah. The Mary Sue really hasn't had much in the way of geek related wrongness lately,
yeah, well, I'm going to go more with what Joe Rogers is saying. He's saying death of the author. That I'm going to just start talking about my basic opinions about the comic book industry that cannot go on the other channel or that I don't want to. So, yeah. because that is, I don't know if Death of the Author would fit, but Death of the Comic Book Writer, that definitely is, or at least the changing of.
I think Death of the Author by itself, I agree with. I don't usually agree with the context in which it's usually evoked, because usually the context in which it's evoked is the deconstructive, we can interpret anything from anything, therefore we can make anything about anything sort of approach. Whereas I usually more think Death of the Author and Death of the Audience, because the thing I'm interested in is not what somebody intended to put in the movie or what somebody else interprets from the movie. I'm interested in, as close as possible, what's actually objectively there in the movie or the book or whatever. Like, I'm not interested in what the author thinks. The author was the first person to be exposed to the idea. That doesn't make them the authority on the matter. And I'm not interested really in what the rest of the audience thinks. I'm interested in my own analytical methods, what's objectively there.
Alrighty, you know what, Jim? I'm gonna make I just saw he did add some stuff, so I'm gonna make a video dedicated to that because I need content for this channel. But thank you. You're right. I should just, since I'm doing that kind of stuff here, shit. Neil Adams says. Oh,
The
by the
internet's
way,
favorite game show, ladies and gentlemen.
Actually, do me a favor, guys. I am blocked by so many comic book creators. So if you see somebody saying something like that, see something, say something, is basically what I'm saying. I am blocked by so many people at this point that I miss out on a lot. So if you do see something that a comic book creator has said that's just off the nut, let me know about it on Twitter at Englentine, or just on one of the videos, because I'll find it, and then after a while I'll do some shit Neil Adams says, and that'll be basically drop it in here central. Because I would love to continue that. I know I said Twitter drama, but what I meant by that was I don't want the bickering back and forth. That's what Comicsgate ended up being, and it was a bunch of bullshit after a while.
Yeah, or the searching
One thing I
for
hate,
minor quibbles and amplifying it up into stupid.
One thing I hate is that when what's now called OGCG left, there's nobody fighting the good fight. I looked on it's now infighting, and that's it.
Yeah,
it seems like nobody's really picking up and going, and so yeah.
The movement formerly known as Comicsgate basically destroyed itself.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's like the company from Tim Kring's Heroes. It goes out with the best intentions until eventually it lost its way.
I think that happens to a lot of groups and such like that too. So, and Computer Bot's saying no more Twitter drama. Yeah, I don't want to do Twitter drama, but if a comic book writer or artist is, going off like Neil Adams here, a gang of legislators flooded into the Capitol day before the raid to guide the rebels to the windows and doors to raid the next day, and raid they did. Where is he finding this? I want to know what evidence does he have of this? Terrorizing as they flooded the halls, our Capitol. They should fill our jails for 10 years. Tucker Carlson, artist, cartoonist, betrayed our calling. Our calling? You're not a freaking political commentator, Neil. He didn't need the money. His family was loaded. Did he need the death of hundreds of thousands of homespun and ignorant, uneducated Americans? Damn his eyes. What do we stand for? Well, we stand for freedom and individualism, Neil. And so we're definitely going to be doing shit Neil Adams says. So yeah, he's written a few things. Time to get back at him. But I stopped doing it because from April 15th to July 5th, he said nothing. When I was in Sunday school, there was a song about the foolish man built his house upon the sand. The house in the sand went. The wise man built his house upon the rock, and the house on the rock stood firm. A lesson for all time. To have a strong foundation like the Constitution and individual freedom. Sure.
The English Enlightenment that our country was founded on, thanks to people like, Thomas Paine, John Locke, all those folks. No.
Yeah.
Mm.
Then computer bots saying, I told other YouTubers that you and a couple others are a great example of not getting involved in the drama and fighting instead, or about coming up with solutions. Then that would be my twist on the subject. If I do have a subject I want to come up with, I'll find a solution. I actually was thinking of a series of videos, because what to do with this channel has now become a bit of a problem. I actually found myself a little bit paralyzed yesterday, because I knew I needed to do a video. I knew I wanted to do a video. I want comic books, like talking and reviewing the Really That Goods. The comic book origins are going to be on that one. So what to do about this? How far to go in? I really don't want to go find that guy's videos and just rip into them all the time. So I then thought maybe doing stuff like how they broke the Bat was the first thing that came up, because it pisses me off how broken Batman is as a character right now. But then I would want to do a follow-up video because a lot of people ask me to revamp If I Wrote, and I thought how to fix the Bat, and just go along doing that. How did they break Captain Marvel? This is how I would fix Captain Marvel.
Honestly, so many characters have gotten that treatment of just being broken and torn down and useless, that you could make a sub-series just on that and have like
that's
25
what I'm saying.
videos.
And that could be what goes on this channel.
That being said, if you ever do a magic user, I expect to get a link, because well,
I think Doctor Strange is perfect the way he is, especially Sorcerer Supreme going to Captain Marvel, which is what every reader wanted.
Boot to the head.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, gang, thank you very much for hanging out, and thanks for watching us. Basically, I guess we kind of fell on our knees and started filleting the Suicide Squad movie.
Well, it's a good movie, and it's fun, and you'll have a great time, and it takes the comic book genre in an interesting direction, and I hope it has an impact on the rest of the genre. Basically, is the long and the short of it. So.
And as always, gang, don't forget to, click like, the comment on the video after it's posted, just to help with the algorithm.
Ring the notification bell so that you keep getting notifications if you haven't already.
Yep.
Would be another thing.
And if you don't mind helping out the channel, Ko-Fi and PayPal, you got there you go. The links are in the description. Anyway, thank you very much for hanging out with us. And as always, thank you very, very much for watching. Have a good night, guys.